Hi, everybody. Welcome to GW Center for Integrative Medicine YouTube channel. I'm the co-host, Dr. Kogan, Chief Medical Officer at GWCIM, Associate Professor of Medicine at GW, George Washington University. A very interesting topic, a brand new study that just came out on effects of nicotinamide riboside, 2 grams taken orally on long COVID. So without further ado, I'm going to, as usual, go ahead and share my screen and walk you through the data. So this is the study. Study is published in the leading journal of in the world. It's a Lancet. The study was conducted at MIT, so and also at Harvard. So this is a very solid study, very good randomization. It's a small study, so the study took only. It started out with screening of about 90 patients. Right here, having a little bit of an issue. Let's make this full screen. Okay, there we go. So it started with 95 patients screened. All patients had long COVID. They end up only recruiting just over 60 patients with a baseline assessment with 58. A couple of people withdrew. And it was a pretty interesting randomization. So in the first 2 weeks, the patients were randomized of placebo, PBO versus nicotinamide riboside. And then in the week 3 and 4, everybody were getting the active treatment. I think it's ethically quite smart way of doing it because if you do find the difference between two groups, you would want everybody to get the active treatment. And let's look at the results. So unfortunately, the study didn't track certain things that I would like to track, but they did track a lot. It tracked the fatigue, it tracked cognitive function, depression, anxiety, brain fog. So they tracked a lot of different parameters. The most important to start with that they did see a universal increase in NAD levels in the blood. Why is this important? Nicotinamide riboside itself is not necessarily a critical molecule we're after. What we're really after is raising in NAD levels. So this was done quite well. As you can see from the figure 3 over here, every patient eventually had an increase, and an average increase was quite substantial, 2 to 3 fold roughly. There was some decrease over time from about 2.5 fold to about twofold, but nonetheless, there's still a big difference from the baseline. So there is no doubt that taking 2 grams of NAD daily raises 2 grams of nicotinamide riboside daily raises NAD level in the serum twofold. That's a pretty sizable lift. Now, unfortunately, over a short period of time, this did not translate to any significant clinical outcomes. No cognitive improvement, no improvement in actually any of the cognitive scores. This is the graphs. There was a slight improvements across the board in some sleep, anxiety, and depression, but those effects didn't last. They were quite clinically small. I would not call them clinically quite significant, but nonetheless, they were there. So there's definitely some benefits overall, okay? Despite the fact that there was no improvement in cognition. Now, I would say that this is a relatively short study. So the patients were tracked, as you can see, for a total of 10 weeks. So whether or not the study team was able to capture benefits on a cognitive function in 10 weeks, it's kind of hard to say. But nonetheless, there were some minor improvements. So, and that's all of the study. There were some minor problems with the fact that the study was small. So, if you're interested, if you're a study geek like I am, and you're kind of curious about some of the details, you can find that there were some small issues with randomization. I think all in all, due to who did the study, how the study was done, I think it was good enough. So now, what does all this mean? Because I just told you a bunch of information you may never heard of NR, nicotinamide riboside. Of course, you probably, if you're interested in this topic, you probably have heard of NAD+. And you, of course, know that at our clinic, we no longer use NR or NMN. We only use injectable form of NAD. So let's get practical. So practically, what this means, if you have long COVID, it's probably worth trying an NR, but, huge but. What the authors didn't tell you, First of all, the company that makes this product, they've been around for quite a while. It's a True Niagen. The product is commercially available. I'm actually going to show you quickly some of their websites. So this is the company that's actually manufacturing. It's called Chromadex, but the parent company is indeed a company called Niagen. So you can find them there right here. And the actual product that is being used, it's called Niagen, True Niagen or Niagen Plus. The product comes in a couple of different forms. It comes in powder, but here they used capsules. They used 250 milligram capsules. As you can see, they also sell NAD injections. We'll come back to that. But the capsules were 250 milligrams each. So patients were taking 4 capsules twice a day, 8 capsules. And here comes the issue. The cost of that for you, if you decide to proceed with what's evidenced, which is using 2000, will be at minimum $200 a month. At that cost, you can get quite a lot of injectable NAD. Now, why am I advocating for injectable NAD? And this is the crux of the whole story. We don't know in the long run what happens when you raise the slowly, persistently NAD level through the precursor. Does that NAD gets into the bloods, into the cells, into the brain cells, into other cells? Maybe, maybe not. Is it worth so massively uplifting the precursor? The future will show. Meantime, my proposal is if you have long COVID, you're going to try this, stick with NAD shots. Why? They're actually a lot cheaper. We can get our patients after initial rev up period for a couple of days or couple of weeks. And because we have to train them. So you have to come to the clinic, you have to get trained in how to do the shot. Now, if you're very savvy, you can figure it out on your own. It's probably okay. But we still want to observe you because when you initiate an AD injection, sometimes the blood pressure and heart rate go up and sometimes they actually quite go up a lot. You want to monitor that. And injectable NAD, if you're doing 50 milligrams per day, will probably cost you about 30 to 50% less, roughly. And yes, it's an injection. Not everybody loves it. You can also don't have to do this every day. You can probably space it every other day. Again, do we have side-by-side comparison? No. As you just saw, the same company, they did the oral nicotinamide riboside, the NAD precursor. They also make an injectable NAD. Our prices are probably a little bit lower just because we don't upcharge patients for anything. We simply send the order to the compounding pharmacy and you buy it directly from them, so the cost is a little bit lower. I think the future will show if they can decrease the price, say half. I think $100 a month for this treatment would be totally worth it. I think if we do longer studies with such a high dose, we're going to see some benefit. Now, there have been some slight concerns about the fact that it's possible that NR can raise the risks of some cancers because you're boosting the energetic milieu of cells, including potentially cancer cells. I think that's mostly theoretical fear at the moment. Is it ever going to pan out? I don't know. But meantime, I'm going to stick with our practice. If, however, you absolutely hate needles, I would say that this is now, after this study, if you have a long COVID and you want to try to boost your energy, your fatigue, your sleep, your mood, it's worth taking $200 worth of supplements. There's a way we can probably get the cost a little bit lower for you. I wonder if a lot of the compounding pharmacies will pick this up and will start making nicotinamide riboside powder at the lower cost. I hope that this does happen. I don't know why they charge so much. I don't know if this molecule is so expensive to produce. By the way, there are other companies that make NR. Variably, they're all even more expensive, many of them. Not necessarily that they basically sell smaller doses. So most of the NR in the market is going to be in 100 to 200 milligrams per capsule. Or if they're selling a powder, it's going to be also quite expensive. So I haven't found better pricing. So that $200 roughly a month that I'm quoting you for 2 grams is relatively accurate price. If you're interested in this topic, want to consult us, find us at gwcam.com. I'll, of course, put the link. I'll put the link to our page on our website to the nicotinamide, to NAD plus, and why I think it's important. I do think that the study is very valuable to the overall science, and you decide if this is something you should be taking. I hope this was helpful. Do subscribe to this channel. It helps the channel, and it keeps you up to date on such videos as this one. I wish you all the best. Stay healthy, stay safe. Take care.